All right, now, thank you everybody for attending the Corporate Services Committee meeting on 17th of May 2024. It's now 9 a.m. Call this meeting open. Now we'll begin with any applications for attending by video.
Nil received, Mr. Chair.
Have we got any apologies?
Yes, I have one apology from Councillor Longham.
Move Councillor Burns, second Councillor Mackenzie, all those in favour. Let's have it. Any disclosures of interest?
Nil received.
And any public participation?
There is no public participation registered.
Very good. And with all those in order, I could move over to Mr. Phelps with business items, starting with the financial summary investment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we'll be going through the Core 05.1. So the financial information summary, bottom first page there, on page 3 of the document, the agenda, shows that we have a negative variance budget of 2.5 million in comparison to a negative variance budget of 1.8 million in March 24. Just to run you through, there is a fair few highlighted items coming through the bit, so I'll just roll through those, and any questions just pause me and begin as we go through. The main contributing factors, we've got the revenue side of the operation budget is positive to budget at the moment by 3.365 million. Overall, the main contributing factors to this, which are inclusive of a few ups and downs coming through. Government Place Hostel slower to budget by about $200,000. Just had a bit of delay in receipt of personal care subsidies coming through from February through to April, which we've rectified that situation, and that should bring that back in by budget numbers. The family daycare revenue is high by about 92,000. We've had a lot of utilisation of that service coming through, which is a bonus to the youth and also parents out there. Also, you can see on the operation expenditure side an increase as well, with about $9,000. Sales revenue was high by about 55,000. We've had a increase in our throughput coming through for the month, with special sale going through for cleaners, and also we'll say a 5 sale a month coming in. So we'll be interested to see how we're tracking up at the end of May in regards to the sale revenue. Scone Golf Course revenue was low by about 63,000. Membership competition fee, just waiting on the information from the Scone RSL to take up the competition fees from January through to April. We've been chasing that up to follow it through. Warbirds, its revenue is low by about 285,000. Overall, we've had a lower admission into the facility, as well as reduced cafe income from the leasing out of that service third party. Also, the revenue from Warbirds over Scone was lower than anticipated. So we've more or less gone through and looked at that, and it's down by about 10,000 on what we initially budgeted for. Moving into the function area, we haven't had any major functions at the facility other than the Warbirds over Scone, and major were around that $50,000 mark coming through from revenue streams. Waste revenue was higher by about 1.6 million. So we've had higher annual domestic charges and landfill disposal revenue that's happened over the course of the year. So it's higher by about 1.6. General revenue was up by about 400,000. So we've had higher than expected general rate revenue, some lower pension concessions required. Plus, also we've had the financial assistance pop up that came through during the year, and we've had a bit more return on our investments, which is always a bonus. So that should continue into the upcoming year. Town planning up by about $229,000. We've had some good development contributions coming through from development, so that's good to see the business sector and the development sector working well. White Park revenue is down by about 116, it's improved from last month. We've had a major event that happened early in April, and we've got continual events happening right through now till the end of June. Plus also we've got a full events happening to the end of December, which is quite pleasing.
Yeah, just on White Park there, Wayne, we've all seen the festivities of the Horse Week and the Horse Festival and how much activities happen down there. You have any indication of positive nature of that to the budget for White Park and perhaps any numbers or bookings that have occurred down there, whichever be most relevant?
Yep, through the chair. We haven't got any regular information in regards to that age yet. A lot of the events that are held over the Horse Festival period are effectively covered by council as a waived event. But we do have a couple of major events that are coming. Events. So the Horse Festival events are community driven events. We go through the process of donating the facility for.
Absolutely, and I think just in that, it's positive to see how much we've put towards that event, and maybe it'd be interesting to go through and have a look at that in-kind value that we're getting through that there and that facility and what that's worth to the community, to the festival. And just follow that up and see how that community investment that's down there is. I think really paying dividends, especially in the horse population and those that get to utilise it.
Yes, through the chair, no, that scenario and then come back to the next meeting. But yes, no, it's a great festivity with the 10-day period of the horse festival. So, and it drives a lot of economic benefit to the community and the township as well, and the Shire overall. Moving into our bridge revenue, it's lower by about $90,000. We've effectively finished 12 of the 14 bridges that happened in the period of coming into May. So effectively it's just a timing issue in regards to grant funding coming through. So there's no real issue there. The RMS State Road, or the Transport for New South Wales State Road revenue was higher by about 200,000. We've had a bit of increased routine maintenance today, and we're expecting that our total user fees for that producing work for New South Wales will be higher by the end of June. So we've got a vote in the period to reflect that revenue. Lower, we've got higher than budget for local road grant revenue, just to top up again of the financial grants coming through. Sewer revenue was higher by about 195,000. Again, we've had the development contributions coming through, which has been a bonus. Plus also we've had some capital funding for our integrated water cycle management project we've been undertaking and having a plan for. So deep finance for that. Water supply revenue is higher by about 1.07 million. Again, we've got Section 64 contributions coming through. Plus also we've had more user consumption fees available to council over the course of the first 3 quarters with the dry spell that we have had. It's a bit far removed now because the pain that we've had over the last 2 months. So it'll be interesting to see what the form of our revenue is like in regards to water. Moving into our non-operating revenue and expenses, we're under budget by just under 900,000. The internal fleet hire is lower by about 1 million. It's stayed relatively consistent since the end of December, when we reviewed our utilisations. So we'll continue to look back and review our utilisations in that space and make any appropriate adjustments as required. And our quarry revenue is now higher than the budget by about 275, so we started bring into account the quarry revenue from a lot of our winning material that Kew and Ellison is. Moving on to page 6, our operating expenditure. So we're overspent at this point in time by about 3.7 million, which is about 7%, just under 8% of our overall operating expenditure budget. Just rolling down through these again, we've got again some ups and downs in regards to the budget scenario. So financial services costs are lower by about 158,000, primarily due to council being able to apply corporate overhead recovery from our capital projects for the bridges, which has been quite pleasing. So we've turned a bit of money back into the council general fund from that. Information technology is lower by 92,000, just reduced one of consultants and a few staff vacancies. It's a bit of a timing issue with a lot of the costs in regards to information technology based on whether the machines work or they don't. So we might have some more consultants costs if we need the network to be reviewed. Government placement still costs are higher, about $380,000 as in previous months. It's the cost of starting the facility has been higher than we anticipated, but we've had some additional consultants and legals coming through that push that up significantly. Obviously, we're reviewing rosters, so we're trying to reduce our exposure to the higher staffing costs. Family daycare costs are high by the 91,000, so that mirrors like pretty much the increase that we had in our revenue stream. So those payments effectively go to the educators for that increased utilisation and service. Real estate costs are high by about $80,000. We've had some additional associated costs with administration plus the development consultancy. So as been where we've been looking at our excess land holding and develop those to produce a revenue stream to council. So we've been undertaking that through. Sale units costs are high by about 80,000. We just had a bit of extra costs in regards to the special sale that was held in April, plus higher than expected truck wash water rates. So we've had an increase there. We've had increased revenue on one side, but we've had an increase in our requirement for drawing on town water for that truck wash. Tourism and area and promotion costs are lower by 81,000. A little bit lower because there's lower costs for more burgers, major events and promotions. Plus also the final invoice for the Warbirds out of Scone to be received in May coming through. Stormwater drainage lower by $80,000, which had lower than expected maintenance undertaken today in regards to that service area. Waste operations is higher by 330,000. That's higher mainly due to the increase in volumes through the waste facility, which has resulted in requirement to pay higher levies to the government, state government for RRA levies. Town planning costs are higher by about 97,000. We've had additional consultant costs coming through with the planning board. So the second iteration of the planning portal is being implemented at the moment. So we've had a few extra costs there. Plus also we've had some flood management and land studies being undertaken. For those additional studies there, we anticipate to receive some grant from the funding funds to cover off probably about 50% of those costs. Moving into our building services area, so it's lower than budget by 85,000. We've just had some staff vacancies and some extended leave in that area, so it's reduced the cost down for delivery of service. The quarry cost, which is the big one, which is a $900,000 increase on budget, so it's higher than budget by the 932. These are the costs linked to the major blasting and winning of material for our major projects. Coming the end of the year, we'll be assessing the stock that's held at the end of the year and applying that against the expenditure coming through. It's just accounting formula. So we'll be undertaking that, so that those costs will reduce down by the material being held at the end of June, plus also the additional revenue should come that cost as well, and a bit of money.
I think you've answered my question, Wayne. The question was going to be, is this one-off, and you could further look at it, stock take review, will be booking costs in next year's budget. This budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Supporting about costs. Just had an increase in costs in regards to the water usage, obviously with the rice mill that was before January previous. We just reviewed those costs to understand why they have increased above budget. So we look at those coming through to the end of the year. Bridge maintenance is lower by 200,000. Obviously reduced maintenance of our council bridges. We've been undertaking a major replacement program, which reduces the old high bridges maintenance regime. Local roads admin and training costs by 160,000. As I mentioned before, we've had that higher cost for that intensive training that will give us some benefits down the track through new efficiencies and ways of doing the radio operations. Local road, our regional and local road maintenance is lower about 350,000. We've got lower general maintenance due to the prioritizing a lot of our capital jobs, trying to undertake those and complete those by 30 June. Also, we've been undertaking a fair bit of flood restoration works as well in the detail. RMS State Roads costs are higher by $600,000, as I mentioned earlier. We're undertaking a lot of work at the moment coming up to the end of June. Obviously, Transport New South Wales has a big budget they want to try and get rid of. So we're undertaking additional requests from Transport to do works.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions there, Mr. Phelps, just on the RMS work. We struggled a little bit being competitive on that job last year. We made rectifications as to costings or add revenue at front, so it's neutral. An income provider. Secondly, just further up on the bridge maintenance, we're obviously spending quite a lot less on bridge maintenance. So I'm wondering if that's reflected budget for next year. But that's whether we've changed our goals going forward, and that money is distributed to other.
Mr. Chair, the first question regards to New South Wales. Yes, we more or less kept the same regime with regards to our operations at Transport, and whether or not we achieve a surplus coming through, we'll probably get more again made, so that we know exactly what works are coming through or what works are being completed. So we can take that on notice and provide an update at that point in time. For the bridge maintenance, yes, no, we reduced down our expected budget coming through for our bridge maintenance, and it's more or less reflective of the other bridges as well. So we've dropped in by probably about 40% in the forward budgets coming in. Moving into sewer admin and mains, it's up by the 1.2 million. So we're going through reallocating a lot of costs out to capital right now. So we're doing that during May. So you can see the effect of that come through in the main numbers. Water supply higher than budget by 400. Again, we looked at a lot of the costs in regards to the water supply operations, and making the appropriate adjustments for items such as capital renewals, plus also the other item that pushes the cost up there has been the electricity. So we are investigating whether we look at solar option to those heavy energy consumption services that council does provide. So we'll be looking at that over the next. Moving into our capital expenditure side of things, here we're a little bit overspent by about 1.3 million, which is about 3.5%. Just walking through the highlighted capital variations. So fleet acquisitions are higher by about 166,000. So we've been able to replace a bit of our stock now that the stock is actually freeing up in the market. So we've been securing a number of vehicles coming through and replacing those for the tired fleet that we do have at the moment. And we'll be continuing to do that over the next 12 months, bring it up to speed. Regular use centre facilities, it's about 115. We just had a bit of a delay in the project tender, and closed in May 24. So part of that will be carried over into the next financial year. The sale yard sludge ponds clean out, it's higher by about 55,000. It's an item that we hadn't budgeted for within the sale yards budget. However, EPA has required us to clean that pond out, so that we don't get issued their fines. So we've had to undertake those works. So it's one of those things that needs to be done. It's a pretty well, it'll be a one-off type scenario for a number of years. So once we've cleaned them out, they could last again 10 to 15 years before another further clean out is required. Unavoidable birds restoration hangar, and the project's like 1,000. We've had just a delay in the project. The tender cost for the construction was a lot higher than we anticipated. It's a fully grant funded project, so we might be able to get up the grant fund received with that. But we're reviewing the scope, might fit the budget funds that we have received for it. So it'll be carried over part to the next financial year.
Just on that, Mr. Phelps, one of the great challenges we've had with and facilities we have now is the ongoing. They're not grant. Even though we're going to build this thing fully grant funded, not out of pocket, as soon as it's up and going, it is our responsibility to. Do we have any scope of works what the operational costs like this extra bit of facility?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we anticipate that the ongoing costs should be minimal. The restoration will be undertaken by a lot of volunteers that are within the hangar and they've done the fire collection done. We are looking at options of actually leasing out a portion of that hangar to obtain revenue to pay the ongoing operation costs and for that facility.
Look, I'll speak on behalf of myself, but I would believe the rest of the council is very strongly invested in making sure that that's at best a zero sum game. Worse, you don't expect to be paying too many more facilities in the Shire that are not part of.
Yeah, there'll be certainly no staff, council staff employed at that facility. As Mr. Phelps said, the operation costs will really be utility costs only, and the intent is to offset that with a lease back to the users.
Perfect. Thank you, the general manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moving into our quarry exploration area, very close to the finalise the DA from the Cuban pit. Us to get to extract some more material out of there, the tonnage per annum. So that will be a benefit overall to the our road maintenance crews. Roller Street Causeway is lower by about 170,000. We just had a delay in the commencement of the works on that Roller Street Causeway due to fishery permits that were required. So we're undertaking a few issues in regards to that and working through those to deliver it by the end of June. We anticipate that the project will still be finished by the end of June, or very early
And through you, Mr. Chair, so the hold up at the moment and is the fisheries permit. So the state government's holding us up.
Yeah, so the history of this one through you, Mr. Chair, is that when we did the initial design, we had verbal advice from fisheries that no fishery permit would be required because we were doing a low causeway. The tender required the actual contractor seek and source the fisheries permit because the contractor needs to fill his work methodology. We couldn't do that on his behalf. When the contractor went to make the actual application, fisheries advised that a fish ladder would be required in order to get the permit, or a higher level structure needed to be constructed to allow fish passage under the causeway. Now, that's obviously not what the community wanted. We've been to the community many times, they wanted a low level crossing. So we're in the position now where a low level crossing still requires some sort of fisheries permit, and the cost of either getting a permit is not so much the issue, but the works associated with getting the permit could be close to $500,000. Could include fish ladders and the like on the downstream side to allow fish passage upstream. To that end, we've rewritten back to fisheries and also sent a letter to the Minister responsible for fisheries, which is their corporate minister, and also to our local member database. If we can't get a suitable answer, our plan B is to simply do the approaches on both sides, which is the approach, the two approaches, the north and south approach, and not to do any work within the actual waterway.
Wow. Not actually caused by this organisation. I'm very happy to say. It is a debacle from top to bottom. But not Upper Hunter Shire Council's fault.
Thank you, Councillor. So yeah, that's the raise. We're actually taking. So we're down before the end of June. Moving on to our 14 bridge replacement program, tied by about 626,000. That overall project's nearing completion. Majority of the bridges have been completed ahead of schedule, and we're undertaking finalisation of our last bridge. Seeing that all the others have been completed in June. So by mid-June, all bridges will be replaced. Merriwa footpath extensions, higher by about nearly $90,000. This project also nearing completion. Had some additional spend, which we've been able to secure some funding for in grant funds. So they're pretty well tied away. Regional and local reseal programs higher by about 588,000. The reseal program is complete. The funding was just being processed at the moment, so that's money out time issue. Our regional and local heavy patch program is lower by about $90,000. The program is completed in full for the year, with that final works remaining coming through. So we have a vote coming through in the mix. Regional and local data collection. The data collection process is carried over from the 3-year. It's required effectively for natural disaster evidence. So it's definitely a need that council does have, and it has undertaken that work to secure that data. Regional and local culvert subsidence is lower by about 170,000. Subsidence work program is completed. The remaining action not expected to be spent at year end. With regards to a lot of our other priorities, it's more
Just on the B data collection, the item budget, we got reasoning for that stuff.
Yes, you, Chair, effectively there was no budget allocated for it in the current financial year. So we've done a vote now coming through to offset that with an appropriate budget to cover the cost.
Yeah, but we're understanding now of the costs and budget forward from there.
Yeah, definitely,
Yes.
definitely. It's one of those projects that we undertake every 5 years. Effectively. Through. Moving into our rural road resheet program, it's lower by about 130,000. That program is now nearing completion. And it's a program with about $1.2 million each year. The Barrington Forest Road stages 1 and 2 higher than budget by about 600. It's progressing well and the spend's ahead of budget. It's only a timing issue coming through the mix. Other road works also higher than budget by 120,000. Initial clearing works is complete. It's just higher than by budget. We've progressed with our construction of that road as well. So all those roads are pretty well chugging well ahead of our budget. And also well ahead of time scheduling, which is quite pleasing. Gavin Lane at Merrill was up by about 240,000. We're actually doing those works at this time, so it'll be expected by the end of the year. Glendale Road works higher than budget by about 280. It's a flood damage project which has been identified and fully grant funded. Solly's Lane in Merrill, it's lower by about 200,000. Minimum works have been completed today, but it's effectively going to be completed by year end. They're undertaking those works at this actually speed at the moment. Scan CBD works is highway. So the works are continuing to spend ahead of schedule. It's only a timing issue. Some additional funding from grant funding is going to be applied in the votes that we've got come through for this month. So that's a program that's continuing quite well and chugging along to be completed by September 24. Water main replacement and renewals on page 10, higher than budget by 170,000. The works continuing on the renewal and replacement program, while both here we continue that program on as depicted in the council reports. So that's been a good end result for council to upgrade those other main renewals. The village water reticulation program is finalised now, completely. It's a lot lower than we anticipated in the budget. So that project will continue to through a lot of sandpipes. The Merrill sewer treatment ponds clean out, it's finalised as well, 100,000 less than we anticipated in the budget. So those costs will be just transferred back to our sewer funds reserve. Sewer main replacements also lower by about 90,000. There's been renewal works undertaken. We've done a lot of realignment works during the financial year. The main replacements we had to undertake. So overall, it's about $2.5 million variation budget to date. Overall, our budget position this month we've done a lot of votes and surrenders coming through, and just tightening up a lot of the ups and downs through the mix. But overall, those net variations come back to zero. The bank funds to the end of $2.6 million in total funds, which 25.4 is sitting in our investment area. Our schedule is attached to the report for those investments. Our loans held $9 million. So as you can see, it's coming down every month. Obviously, with no loan facilities being applied for during the 23-24 year, and we have those scheduled those loans in report. And finally, our capital expenditure report at the end of April. Here, our revised budget is down by about $3 million, down to 56.6, which is about $10 million less than we anticipated in our original budget overall. So we've got that as depicted in a lot of the votes coming through. You'll see that the reduction in our capital spend is coming in. Overall, at the end of April, we spent $38 million on capital, which is a significant number coming in, which is 67% of our budget. So obviously we'll have a lot more spend. Some report those capital work programs and actually where those each individual capital works project sits, the budget is attached to the report. Thank you, Chair. The only other items we go through at the moment is pretty well, there's a lot of attachments that are attached to the report, which councillors can see. We've got the fund and function summary, so that's the overall result of where council sitting at the end of April based on the service areas. So on page 13 through to page 16, you'll see that the request votes, there's a multitude of request votes depicted in the month, which we have a schedule of those votes coming through. But at the end of the page 16 there, the votes revert back to zero. So we have to have budget remain balance budget as it stands. The bank reconciliation on page 17, but the little graph that depicts where we're going. So it's a very up and down budget, obviously with heavy capital expenditure. We get grant funding in and spend a lot of that grant funding in capital budgets coming through. Our investment schedule on page 18. So as mentioned earlier, we have that schedule of the investments held, which is quite pleasing, and also our loan schedule coming through on page 19. And to top it off, we have the capital works expenditure coming through with the votes according to those capital works, which is a reduction in our request votes on page 29 by about $3 million on our revised budget March 24. Final one there, which you may want to look through or ask any questions in regards to, is our budget variation request for the month of April. So obviously, as we come through to a new financial year budget period in 24-25, we start moving a lot of our capital expenditure ins and outs and moving them off into reserves and deferring them to next year, which will go through that process when we finalise the default in June. But overall, it comes back to zero from those votes followed on page 33. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillors, if you've got any questions or comments pertaining to variations and the like. I do have one just on the loan schedule. It's just a mini, the LERS round 2. Interest payable 531, 523. Has that been paid from these people with the schedule, or is that is that just a thing that we need to sign up in the future?
It's a beautiful county treatment that comes through. Over those loans were fully repaid in the current financial year, so that they look to the next financial year.
So there's no further trace behind those loans there. They are fully, as they say, fully repaid. Yeah,
Correct.
that's it. We're done.
Oh, it's a drop off.
Yeah, it's speaking of that. All right, there being no further questions. Staff here, do I have a mover? We moved Councillor McKenzie, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Burns, closing vote. The ayes have it. And we'll move on further to the property update. So we're the general manager here today. We might give Mr. Phelps a little break If you could update us quickly on property issues.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll see there we've got 36 properties with lease arrangements over them. It was about to become 37 with the electric charges at the back of Campbell's Corner, but the electricity provider, the Tesla funding for that has been pulled, and then I'm going to construct that now. So we're sitting at 36, which is still an improvement over recent months. We're seeing slight increases every month with the number of leases coming through and formalising those. In regard to our property strategy, I've updated the table again for this month, but probably draw your attention to a couple of paragraphs above the main table in the report. First one being Aberdeen Heights subdivision works there. We're continuing to have a number of meetings with staff in the Minister's office in regard to finding funding for housing for that subdivision. We've had 2 positive meetings, but no funding has actually come from that yet. We're still continuing the lobby in that regard. Whilst we're pursuing that, we're also pursuing the commercial side and seeing if there's a commercial provider that wishes to enter into that. For that is another meeting next week with another potentially interested party. So these interests come to us, we discuss it with them, sometimes they pan out, sometimes the party want to do some further due diligence, so they do take a bit of time. We're also pursuing through the Hunt Joint Organisation meeting with various ministers when Canberra. One of those is to seek federal funding through housing. With the budget just released this week, we're hoping that money gets freed up to allow councils to do at least the catalyst type funding. That will be enough to allow the private development to move in and keep it moving. We don't want to do we don't want to burden take all the costs. We don't think state and federal government should either. But if we can just put enough in to stimulate the movement of some development, because we do have quite a lot of land around that has roots and just isn't actually kicking off because the economics don't stack up. The other paragraph there is just in regard to the reclassification. Those reclassification reports have gone to the ENC meeting this week. So Tuesday, the council has already resolved to amend the LEP to reclassify those lots in Hill Street and also the lot on Newingwood Highway from community to operational. So once the LEP is amended, we'll be able to progress our strategy in regard to those lots. Happy to take any questions that councillors may have in regard to the report.
Being no questions or comments, commend the general manager staff for really focusing on this area. It is something we hear over and over in Aberdeen, and we're seeing the social outcomes of the housing crisis that's about us. So let's commend this area. More developments and positive outcomes from this whole strategic view of our properties. Saying that, not the mover, please. Move Councillor Burns, second Councillor McKenzie, all those in favour. Let's have it. We'll move now on to the requests for donations.
Happy to speak to it if you would wish.
Yeah, I think that's probably appropriate. Please, Mr. General Manager, if you can run through the 3 donations and speak.
Yeah, look, councils at a very high level, as you recall, the policy was amended to give delegation to staff to make determinations and report back. We've had 3 applications for grant funding under the donation policy this month. Unfortunately, all 3 were unsuccessful, and the reasons are provided in the table for where they didn't meet the requirement. But One of them was an event outside of the Shire. One was raising funds for a charitable organisation, and another one was raising funds for a school activity and under action policy. All of those things that we don't provide funding to. More than happy for charitable organisations, of course, to run their own events, but we have to be diligent with the use of our own money, so that criteria and policy with regard to how we manage those.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, I was a mover of the policy actually going back to staff and being executed by the staff, and this is an example of why that actually works. It's we're watching the cents, dollars will come after that. We're not a bank, and unfortunately in the past, and I've been guilty of it, we've been used as one. We can't just give out to anyone, and this is a fantastic way. It gives everyone certainty around there's a policy, they can read the policy and they can say, yes, we fit into that, no, we can't, or they can try their luck. But yeah, the policy is being administered well by the staff, I think, and I congratulate them.
Thank you, Councillor Burns. And just on, this is, the policy hasn't changed per se from what it was previous, other than oversight from staff here. Just ask of the organisations that put in for donations, I wonder if they're getting strong feedback with the policy, discussing where that comes down, and we communicating this back to groups, so there's no tension through that that communication, or perhaps back thereof.
Yes, Mr. Chair, every application gets a response. If they're successful, they'll get a letter explaining that they've been successful, of course. If they're unsuccessful, they will get a copy of the relevant portion of the policy explaining why they've been successful.
And that's the greatest thing we can do for charities is keep the communication up and keep that open and transparent. That will cause less of this tension for the time being. Is everybody happy to we're going to move the motion today? Move it, Councillor Burns, second, Councillor McKenzie. All those in favour? I think the ayes have it. Now, just for notation, we have responses to previous questions through there, and I have a mover for the noting of those questions, please. Councillor McKenzie, seconded, Councillor Burns. All those in favour? I think the ayes have it. Have we got any further questions or comments before I close the meeting? Councillor McKenzie.
Just respond to have given me another 600 questions. So still trying to get. So I can understand that Corbett was contracted differently this year. Was there any responsibility for him in relation to marketing? I see that he did the marketing within the increased cost. And if the gate takings weren't as we anticipated or what was sold to us, is there a reduced percentage from Mr. Bennett from his section of that? So I guess proportionately, if we get 10,000 people, there's a certain amount that he gets within his thing. But if there's only 4,000 people, is there a reduction to the cost in which he's claiming?
No, unfortunately, there is no relationship between the numbers through the gate and the fees. The fee pay is a contract fee. It's pretty much a lump sum for delivering the show. From his perspective, and I can understand the logic, his costs are fixed, so he still has to pay the same amount of costs to put on the show, whether we get 1,000 people, 10,000 people. So there's no variable limit. Whilst some of the variable income begin maybe through sales of merchandise, they're a fairly small percentage of the overall market. So his contract is more of a lump sum. We'd probably be very unlikely to get anyone to provide us with a event of that size and nature with such high initial costs to enter into an agreement where there was very cost that they effectively put their price up to cover the risk. So we'd end up just paying more to ensure that they went out of pocket. Moving forward, we'll provide you with all our report once we've got all the costs in and all of the ticket numbers. And I think there'll be some recommendations around how we might provide it. Again, we've looked at this model a couple of different ways. We've done a different model for a couple of years. The reality is we're probably never going to get 10,000 people or thereabouts to an event over 2 days because we have other limitations within the town, such as accommodation, that just make it so difficult to get those numbers. So we'll look at an alternative model, provide councils with some ideas. More than happy to take some feedback too from councillors on what we're doing moving forward, what the next event might look like or how it might be structured.
So council has paid the costs for staff. There's no proportion of the stalls or anything that comes back to council to cover staff costs only. There's nothing. He just takes it all.
No, so within the budget, there's a payment to the provider, which is called an airship.
Yep.
There's costs associated with our own staff doing free work and work in the day. And then there's a number of income streams. There's ticket sales. There's income from alcohol sales, percentage of that came back to council. And
So there was something.
yeah, and there was also an income stream through the kids' rides. So
I'll wait for the third.
there is a lot of movement. So we will talk to the councillors and probably the briefing session, provide a lot of detail and then formally provide it.
Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Thank you, general manager. No further business. I'll call this meeting closed at 9:52. Thank you for everybody's attendance and happy racing.